Hi, I'm George, and we're going to be taking this photograph here and improving it by adding a gradient map onto the background and fading that into the original background, plus a few more tweaks, just like that. Now, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and to really learn how to use Photoshop, take a look at my complete training course. You'll find a link for that right down there in the description. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll do this project. I'm just going to delete everything except for the original image. There we go. Just select all that, hit the delete key, and there we go. There's the original background image. Now the first step here is to just make a duplicate of your background layer. So right click on the name and choose duplicate layer, choose OK, and there we go. Now in this layer, let's just work on the values of our foreground subject. So I'll go up to the layer menu, come down to new adjustment layer and levels right here. And I'll use previous layer, choose OK. Then here's our adjustments for that. I'm going to bring the black up a little bit. Notice how the values are compressed a little bit. The black and the white point are outside of the histogram. So I'm going to pull the black point in just into that value here, and the same thing with the white just in. That's kind of our beginning point. And I'll then brighten her up just a little bit by moving the midtones here to the left just a touch. And I'll bring in a little bit more black, not much, right about there, maybe just a little bit more white, just increasing the contrast overall on the image. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now we need to remove her from the background. And for that, we'll just use the select and mask, and I'll just make a basic selection first. So take our lasso tool right here, and I'll do a quick lasso right around the figure. Now this doesn't need to be really super exact because we're using the same background in behind her. So we can just be a little bit sloppier here, a little bit freer. If I was changing the background completely, I'd spend a lot more time on this layer mask and make it as exact as possible. But again, since it has the same background, just a color change on that and a value change, this doesn't need to be quite as dramatic. It's going to just blend right in. So bring it back to the beginning. There we go. Let's choose select and mask. And I have my set over here on the refined edge brush right here. And I'll bring my brush size down just a little bit left square bracket. There we go. And over here on our options, I'm going to change the radius here just to 1 pixel just for a little bit of help there. Everything else I'm going to be leaving at the default settings. And let's just brush right along that edge. Again, this isn't critical. We'll do a little cleanup on the layer mask, but it's not that critical in here. And this down this side right here. I like doing this in a few little short brush strokes. I don't try to catch the whole thing at one quick move. I'll just do a little brush stroke like that. I'll let go. Then I'll do another brush stroke like this. Then I'll let go and so forth. Just little brush strokes. And then Photoshop takes a moment to rethink that edge and gives us a much cleaner, nicer edge in here. So there's the whole edge. I want to output this to a layer mask and choose OK. And then let's just clean up our layer mask. Now put the layer mask, as you can see here, on our adjustment layer. I don't want that. I want it on the actual image. Easy to do. Just grab the layer mask, pull it straight down, and it just pulls it down and puts it on the image. It looks the same in here, but it's where we need it over here on our image layer. Now I want to come in and clean up that layer mask if it needs it. So for this, I'll hold the Alt key down and then click on the layer mask itself. We can see here's the actual layer mask. I do a little bit of cleanup in here. Again, it's not that critical, but I'll do just a little bit of this. Now black hides, white shows. So I'll grab a paintbrush and we have our black as a foreground color. I don't want this too hard. Let's see how we're up. We're pretty hard. I'll put it about halfway. There we go. And then I'll just come in here and brush in carefully with this. Again, I'm not going to try getting right with that edge. It doesn't matter. I'll just get in close and it'll be plenty enough for this. There we go. Just kind of work around and get rid of some of this dirt around the edges out here. Anything right up against the edge, I'm just going to leave that alone. That will blend right in just fine. Okay, up around the edge of the hat up here. Now the layer mask, as always, is the most important step of the whole project. It's not a critical one this time, but if there's any place you're going to be spending your time on a project, spend it on the layer mask. That's where it's going to count the most. Everything else usually is very, very fast and easy to do. And this makes a difference between a good and a bad looking image, is the quality of your layer mask. Okay, just run the back down in here. I'm bringing it fairly close on this. Just like that. Now, all of our wispy hair is still going to be in there. It's just going to be from the background layer as opposed to being from this layer, which is okay. That looks good. Now click on the background layer And we're back here to the regular. Notice that the wispy hair looks just fine down here. Everything looks okay. It's a little bit off right here. So up here to the layer mask again, and I'll come in just a little bit more and tighten that up. So I see a little bit in there that we could come in closer on that. And that all looks fine. Okay, so that takes care of our foreground subject. Let's come down to the background layer. We're now going to work on the background. So I'll just hide this foreground just for a bit here. And we'll add a gradient map onto this. So let's go over here to the layer, come down to new adjustment layer, and the gradient maps are right down here. And then choose OK. And it gives you the standard black to white gradient map. Now click on the gradient itself. This brings up the editor right in here. And we can then choose from all of these different gradients. There's a lot in here. This goes clear down to there, down to neutrals. Now, all of these things in the current version of Photoshop only have one color, pretty much. I mean, we have, orange to light orange to dark orange in here. It's a bit of a orange to purple there, but not much. These are pretty much monochromatic or close to monochromatic. I want something a bit more dramatic than that. And you can get that on the legacy gradients. And to get those, let me show you where you can load those in. I'll close this down and just do cancel. Let's go over here to window and come down to gradients right here. And over in here, that little icon right here, upper right-hand corner, you can come down here, click on legacy gradients. This then adds in the older gradients back into your system. And there's some more fun stuff in there where you actually have some different color changes. So I always recommend to grab your legacy gradients if you're doing this. Okay, so that's where you'll find those. Let's go ahead and we'll go back to that layer. I'm just going to close that down and get this out of the way. And here's our gradient map right here. Double click on the gradient, brings us back up again. And now if I scroll down to the bottom of our list, you'll see our legacy gradients are right down here. In here, let's just come down. We have color harmonies, neutral densities, pastels, a lot of fun stuff in here. Let's take a look at our color harmonies 1. And I want this one right here. It's kind of an orange to a purple. Let's choose OK. There it goes. So our darks are purple and our lights are orange. So there's our gradient map. Let's now just hide that. And we'll hide that as well. There we are. Now I want to fade this in so this is only at the top and not at the bottom. I just want to have the gradient map up here. So for that, we'll go over here to the layer mask side. And let's change our tool over here to the gradient tool. I want to go back into this layer mask. So make sure on the right side it has that outline around it. That's good. Go up here to the middle someplace, come just outside the picture, hold the Shift key down, pull straight down, and let go. And here's our gradient at the top, and it fades into the regular colors at the bottom. That gives us that kind of fun color back there. If I bring the foreground subject back in again, there we go. Now still washed out in the back. Let's go ahead and we'll fix that by adjusting our contrast, come back down to the background layer, and then layer, new adjustment layer, and levels. Choose OK. And again, I'll just boost my contrast on that. Just bring it in like that just a little bit. We can adjust the lightness and our values. And there we go. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more blacks and a little bit richer on that background. And I think that looks pretty good right there. We have our gradient at the top, our gradient map fading into the normal look at the bottom. Let's now see how this compares. And for that, I'll make a new copy of our background layer, right click, duplicate layer, choose OK. Let's just take this, drag this to the top, all the way up. There we go. There's the original, and here's our new adjustment. So you can see how adding in this faded in adjustment layer can really improve the overall feeling of an image by adding in some nice color in the background. If you like this video, hit that like button, click on share, click on subscribe, and take a look at my complete training course for Photoshop. Link again for that is right down there in the description. And I'll see you next time.